Pardon me?
2 new cases up in the 80138.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. One was pretty young and one was middle-aged.
Yeah.
Ladies.
We are not.
It's a little bit of a change. We got some public here this time. Hmm?
Mr. Augustus and
Yep.
honestly don't know why the sheriff and undersheriff can't speak for themselves.
You and I are in accord on that, yes.
A blast from the past.
The video is live.
Okay.
Hmm?
Somebody did. Test, test.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Say something about the holiday schedule if you want, if it's on consent, so I don't think anybody's any questions.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's actually good to see a crowd here. It's almost like it used to be. Just before we begin, just want to remind everyone, and we are aware the governor has extended the face covering order for a third time. It does require everybody over the age of 10 inside public spaces to wear a mask, but there are exemptions for those that are speaking in public or speaking for broadcast, as we are here today, and also exemptions for others that have medical or other reasons that make wearing a mask difficult. So with that, I would also ask if you come up for public comment and you are wearing a mask, if you're comfortable taking it off, it's much easier for folks to hear because it does muffle things. And we do have people that are participating online today as well. So with that, before we call the order, I'd like to invite Pastor Jim Kimbrell up to provide an invocation and lead us in the pledge.
God in heaven, we do stand in honor of you, the God who made us. We are grateful for you. On this day, we recognize that you have been gracious to us. You have kept us even through the night. You held on to us. And tonight, you will hold on to us again. And so, God, before me stand three individuals who are governing our county, and they need your wisdom. I ask, God, that you would grant it. God, for the people behind me and all that they represent, we need grace as we are governed. Would you please, God, grant that? God, for our first responders who, over these last weeks, have responded and not knowing what each event holds, they walk in and they represent the law, they represent health, strength, care, love. God, they have witnessed things over this year that they would love to forget. God, would you heal them? Would you strengthen them? Would you care for their families? Watch over them. Keep them, we pray. God, we also recognize that our county is extremely dry. Would you be a gracious God, not deal with us according to our sins, but deal with us according to your mercy? Would you bring down rain from heaven? Would you bring down snow from heaven? Would you help us as we keep our animals, keep our crops, that God, you would just allow everything to flourish in Elbert County. We ask this. And God, during this meeting, we pray that everything that is said honors others in the room, and everything that is done in our county honors you, God. And so, God, for that to happen, we ask your strength and your care and your oversight. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. So with that, it's 9:04. Amanda, could you call the roll, please? Here.
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 Alrighty, the first thing before us is approval of the agenda. I'd accept a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. First item we have of business is the consent agenda. I'd accept a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept and approve the consent items. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, next item we have elected officials, department heads, and staff reports. Sure. Do we have, Sherry, did you have anything you'd like to bring up? It's not often you have to work your way through a crowd.
Oh, right.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sherry Hewlett, Elbert County Treasurer and Public Trustee. Just a quick reminder for the citizens that our tax lien sale is still scheduled for November 17th, and it'll be an online auction. The first advertising for the real property will be tomorrow, and then the next 2 weeks after that on Thursday. All of that information and the list is on my website, so if the citizens want to get a list of that, they can print that off from the website, and then people are still paying gradually, so they can call us or come in. There's a list out in the foyer at the SEB building, and then I have one in our office, so we can help them with any of those properties that are paid. The link to the online auction is also on my webpage, so all they have to do, they need to register prior to the sale. And it's right there. There's a link on the left-hand side for them to get right to the auction site. So other than that, I just wanted to update you on that. So
Well, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Susan? Okay, nothing from Susan. I don't see any other elected. Sam, do you have?
Good morning, Commissioners. Sam Albrecht, County Manager. A couple updates on some projects. One is the budget. That's the big one right now. So our deadline to deliver you a draft budget is the 15th of October, which is tomorrow, and we will have something for you tomorrow. We are 99.9% there. We're just finishing up the final numbers and the final text, and we will have that out. We will also get it posted in the paper and posted on the website so people can start looking at it. And then you guys, it will be on the 28th agenda to acknowledge receipt of that document.
No, this is just a draft.
This is just the draft. We have 3 months left to finish. Technically, we're budget, but we're a little short in some areas right now that we want to adjust and take another look at the strategic plan goals and the commissioner's goals and make sure we're all in 100% alignment with that before we deliver you the final budget, which I think we're planning to do on the 18th of, either the 15th of December or the 18th of December, one of those 2 dates.
And then mid-November, we should be scheduling our public hearing.
We will have a public hearing on that budget also in November, correct.
Thank you. Alrighty. Anything else? Or?
I've got a couple other items. One is that we have started to advertise the link for our new Transportation Master Plan study. It is an online platform that allows every citizen in the county to provide comments, which will factor into that Transportation Master Plan. We were also going to be focusing key stakeholder groups, the schools, the law enforcement, and as well as first responders throughout the county as we look forward to coming up with a new Transportation Master Plan. That should be done. Once we get all this input, we'll sort through it, and then we will also, that final document should be delivered either late this year or early next year. The last one I wanted to mention was the impact fee study that we're doing. It's been at least 10 years since we did an updated impact fee study. It was time to do a new one, and so that is also has a stakeholder group that is being involved in that development, and we will have that done before that final budget is presented in case we need to make any changes to the impact fee structure that we currently have.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Okay. Thanks. Alrighty. Actually, before we move to public comment, just want to kind of take a little executive privilege. If we could move the proclamation for 4-H, it's buried pretty deep in the agenda for today, and probably folks have things that they'd like to get onto. So I know last week was National 4-H Week. We had kind of went back and forth. Our last meeting in September was quite a few weeks ago and seemed a little bit too early to proclaim what was happening, so we did put out some notices on Facebook to acknowledge it, but we did want to take time to do a formal proclamation. So
Eileen Krause, Deputy County Manager. I know we have Willie Wilkins here. I don't know if he wants to come up. He looks like he's brought a group with him. Say a few words.
And do we have the formal proclamation that's going to be read?
I do. I have the formal proclamation here, and I'll be privileged to read it once you've introduced some of our guests today.
Okay, yeah, we have several 4-Hers here to talk about the program. You guys might recognize Danielle. She's been here before. Spoke on behalf of the program. We have the Cabreras. I was asking how long they've been in the program, about 15 years.
I was gonna say, you don't have all the
A long
careers.
time. And, yeah, several of them here to talk about the program. And then Cora LeVay. So they'll talk about their experiences, and you guys will get to kind of see what they do throughout the year. And we were just finishing. We just had our last awards banquet last weekend.
Yeah.
Meetings have already started for the new year. So, you know, it's a year-long process, and in some of these, they've been doing it for many, many years. So I just want to let them talk about their experience. I'll start with the Cabreras. Ezekiel, you want to lead them off?
Good morning.
Hi there. My name is Ezekiel Cabrera. I am 18 years old, and this past year was my 10th year in 4-H. Over the years, I've participated in many projects in 4-H, as far as animals, shooting sports, and a few general projects. How 4-H has benefited me, it has grown me in my character and my patience and sportsmanship with other competitors in shooting sports, and mostly patience working with animals and learning how to care for them. And that's about it.
Alrighty, thank you.
Hello, my name is Ezra Cabrera. This is my 8th year in 4-H. I am 16 years old, and I really love 4-H. It has done a lot for me, and it has taught me how to be a better leader, how to properly care for my animals. It has taught me responsibility and sportsmanship, and overall it's just taught me a lot of how I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for 4-H.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Levi Cabrera, and I'm 19 years old. This year, I am graduating out of the 4-H program. 4-H has given me a lot of experience, and with the leadership in 4-H, I have gained a lot of wisdom in how to do things. And I have participated in many of the projects that 4-H has to offer, including the shooting sports projects, the animal projects, and a few general projects like the music festival they had before. I've had a lot of fun performing, playing my trumpet in that, and gaining experience in performing in public. Public speaking is not a strength of mine, and so being able to come up and do more of this has really helped me become stronger as a leader, and showing others, especially my younger juniors who are still learning in the projects, how to be better. And that's what I think the whole 4-H motto is making the best better, which starts in yourself before, and then you help your whole community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Danielle Bogner. I'm 17 years old, and I've been in the project for going on 9 years. This might be a little cliche, as many of them have said, I wouldn't be where I am today without 4-H. I have had many amazing opportunities that have taught me many things. I started in leadership 5 years ago and have now held countless leadership roles, and I've loved all of them. I've had the chance to be in a variety of projects, including market animals, showing dogs, scrapbooking, shooting sports, leather crafts, and electricity. 4-H even goes beyond that. I've attended many camps in Glenwood Springs, Pueblo, Divide, and even the Colorado State University. I was even going to have the chance to attend Citizen Washington Focus this past year, but like everything else, it was canceled. It is a lot more than just showing animals and winning ribbons, though. We learn community service, public speaking, and even problem solving when things don't go the way we expect. Our 4-H motto tells us to make the best better. This year gave me a better idea of what this really means. That the best is not always my ideal. Sometimes this means making the best out of the situation we are given. This year was definitely not what we expected, but we took the situation and made the best of it. I'll be taking all of the lessons I've learned in 4-H to face any situation I'm presented with, to make the best of the moment we are in. Thank you so much for supporting Elbert County 4-H. We wouldn't be able to do most of what we do without your generosity. Let's continue to always make the best better now and for future generations to come.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Cora LeVay. This is my 4th year in 4-H. I am 11 years old. I have done air rifle shooting sports for the past 3 years, and I plan to do it again this year. 4-H has taught me to be more patient with my animals and shooting sports. I have also participated in market turkeys, which taught me a lot about how to keep record of my profit and loss. I am in Running Creek 4-H Club. I am the secretary of my club. I have also been the vice president of my club. I have also been in Horseless Horse, Show Chickens, Upcycle Your Style, and the Fashion Review. As part of 4-H, we do community service, and this year we wrote thank you notes to our first responders. We also do fundraisers such as cleaning up after the rodeo at the Elizabeth Stampede. In 4-H, we have to do a demonstration every year which helps with public speaking. 4-H has helped me learn to be a leader in 4-H school and other activities. I am also learning about frustration and persistence. I have learned a lot about life skills in 4-H. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we could, we give them all a hand. Levi talked about public speaking, and it does really teach them to do that. I know when I was that age, I wouldn't have been able to do the job that they did, so I really commend them and talking about the 4-H program. I forgot to introduce myself, William Wilkins, and I am the extension agent here in Elbert County with 4-H and natural resources duties. Lori handed me these off, but I'm going to have Lori come read them because she's a great representative of the program too, and a great champion of 4-H, and she has granddaughters in the program, and so we've got 2 awards she wanted to share. They're just talking about the 2 participants that received the awards, and they're the letters that the letters are about.
So we so value your time in helping us honor and celebrate our 4-H youth. They are amazing kids that humble me every day. And we weren't able to do our normal award celebrations this year in typical fashion. At County Fair, we usually have a 4-H awards night, and we hand out plaque awards to honor certain individuals for their accomplishments. And 2 of those awards are sponsored by community members. One of them is Making the Best Better, the other is Citizen of the Year. And 4-H leaders and clubs and community members can nominate the kids for these awards. They write a letter of nomination, and then the sponsor chooses the recipient of that. And so we would just like to take this time to honor the recipients of those 2 awards, since we weren't able to have an actual awards night this year. So Making the Best Better, the person nominating them was Vicki Hudson from the Kiowa Community 4-H Club, and she's also an Elbert County horse leader. And she wrote, I would like to nominate Tria Allen for Making the Best Better Award. I've had the opportunity to watch this young woman grow and mature over her years in 4-H. From a beginning rider on a cute little pony to one on the top riders of the county. Her horsemanship skills are always amazing. But how does she make the best better? Being a leader's kid, she is drugged to all sorts of extra 4-H activities. At every single one, she always has a smile on her face and a willing hand to lend anything you need help with. from setting up a dog match, a horse activities locally, to jumping in and helping with the state horse judging contest. She always steps up to help anywhere she is needed. As one of the more advanced horse members, I also see her helping younger members at ride nights and shows. From a simple kind word of good job to helping someone work on a pattern, it's always done with grace and kindness. I would be very proud to have her be representative of the county in winning this award. So congratulations to Tria Allen as our Making the Best Better recipient. Citizen of the Year, Vicki also nominated the Citizen of the Year from Kiowa Community 4-H Club. As the main leader of the Kiowa Community 4-H Club, I would like to nominate Wyatt Waltz for Citizen of the Year award. This year, Wyatt is the president of our club. This is a very visible and public office for a club, and Wyatt has excelled beyond all expectations. He is an expert at parliamentary procedure and has helped the club get better at this. Even in this weird year of COVID, he has done all that has been asked in a timely and thorough manner. In addition to being a top-notch president, Wyatt has stepped up many times in his 4-H career here when I need some last-minute help. This has mainly revolved around help with the gala and performing, but that activity is right up his alley. Kiowa Community 4-H would be very proud to have him be a representative of the club in winning this award. So congratulations to both Wyatt and Tria, and thank you for the opportunity to recognize those individuals in this limited fashion. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, I guess.
And with that, it is my privilege to read a proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners recognizing National 4-H Week in Elbert County, Colorado, October 4th through 10th of 2020. Whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country so far. And whereas 4-H has helped hundreds of youth in Elbert County to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders. And whereas 4-H is delivered by Cooperative Extension, a community of more than 100 public universities across the nation that provides experience where young people learn by doing in hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. And whereas since 1912, Colorado State University's Extension has been a trusted resource for building and strengthening Colorado's communities, including Elbert County, by teaching people to apply science-based information in their daily lives in order to make informed choices about everything from gardening, food safety, natural resources, and agriculture, to healthy living and positive youth development in 4-H. And whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the 350 remarkable youth and 100 dedicated volunteers in Elbert County 4-H who work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. And whereas 4-H's national network of 600,000 volunteers and 3,500 professionals provides caring and supportive mentoring to all 4-Hers, helping them to grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Elbert County Board of County Commissioners that we, the members of the Elbert County Board of County Commissioners, hereby proclaim October 4th through 10th, 2020 as National 4-H Week throughout Elbert County, Colorado, and encourage all of our citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact it has made and continues to make by empowering youth with the skills they need to lead for a lifetime.
Thank you. Yeah. Any comments?
No, thanks for everything you do.
Yep, thanks, and everybody that participates, and especially Willie and Lori and Trina and everybody else that puts in a lot of time and effort, and especially the leaders that do a lot to help the kids. So appreciate everything.
Yeah, and I'd certainly add Kelly to that list as well, but yeah, definitely to the adult leaders, to the kids that participate. I think Elbert County's got a higher average participation rate than there is in the state, and that's a tremendous thing. I think Eileen mentioned, 350 kids, but as a parent of kid in 4-H, you find out pretty rapidly that you're a parent in 4-H as well, and it does a lot, I think, for families as a whole. It's just a good thing. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity, Callie had shared with me the Lemke Award participants' essays to grade. It's a kick. I mean, it's good. I mean, with everything going on in the world these days, you know, reading some of the things that our 4-H kids have as their vision of the future is comforting, to say the least. It's a tremendous program, and it's really good to support. If we could get a quick photo with everybody that's...
Do we need to approve the plaque?
Oh yeah, let's take a motion to approve the proclamation. Looks like, Rick, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the proclamation recognizing National 4-H Week in Elbert County.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the proclamation is for Elbert County's 4-H Week recognition. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And with that, a photo. If you could come on up, we'll do this.
Up by the flag, guys.
Again, thank you guys. We'll give you a few minutes to step out. Thank you very much for coming in today. Yeah. That's always good. Alrighty. With that, we'll move on to open public comment. Amanda, my understanding is we didn't have anybody that wanted us to call them or any email comment submitted? Alrighty, so within the room, do we have anybody that would like to make public comment today? Diana?
Good morning, Diana Edstrom, 26060 County Road 41, Elbert. I actually just have 3 questions. Is there a way, the Planning Commission meetings, is there a way to make those recordings available online? Because they're currently not somewhere.
Okay.
I wanted to tell Christina, the new
What's that? This morning? 9:04? Oh, it was 9:34, because, yeah, 10 minutes would have taken us to 9:44.
Keep it working. We're good? Commissioners, we're good.
Alrighty.
Amanda, we're good.
Apparently we're all good, so we'll come back on in 25 seconds. Apparently, did we somehow offend Mr. Zuckerberg, or?
Probably.
Yeah.
If not just now, then at some point.
Alrighty, we'll come back into session. It's 9:44. So we are now streaming again. The item we were picking up for discussion was ballot measures that impact either the county or our citizens directly. So.
Correct. And commissioners, I think you guys were going to go through that list of things, yeah.
Yeah. So
And then I think we have one guest.
Good. So before us, and they're not quite in this order, but we've got draft resolutions pertaining to several of the 11 measures that are on the ballot this year. I guess there's several that are constitutional amendments too that we're looking at. Several that were placed on the ballot by petition of the people across the state, and some that were placed on the ballot by the legislature. But they pertain to repeal of the Gallagher Amendment, the conduct of charitable gaming for nonprofits, the national popular vote for president, reintroduction of wolves, a reduction in income, the state income tax rate, voter approval of fees related to state level enterprises, and paid family and medical leave. So I'll just, we take them in the order they are in our packet, but the first one was a resolution that, as prepared, urges support for Amendment C. It's a constitutional amendment regarding the conduct of charitable gaming for nonprofit organizations. I don't know if you guys have any comments, but generally this one, currently a new nonprofit has to be established for at least 5 years prior to being able to apply to the state for a bingo or raffle license. This would reduce it to 3 years, and it also allows them to hire outside folks to conduct the games, but at no more than a minimum wage. So it prevents folks from coming in to run games for them and then walking away with most of the profit. And again, it allows them to start this process a little bit sooner. And pretty much based on what's in the resolution, we recognize, especially during COVID-19, quite a few of our nonprofits weren't able to conduct the fundraising activities that they generally do. And these nonprofits have proven to be very critical in directly supporting our citizens that are also in distress during the time of COVID. So it's a pretty simple change. Oddly enough, it's a constitutional change, but that's the nature of Colorado. But what was presented here was that we would resolve to declare our support for Amendment C as it helps alleviate the funding difficulties experienced due to COVID-19 and other business interruptions by newer nonprofit organizations that support our county citizens and makes establishing new nonprofit entities more feasible. And we also have seen several folks that, community groups, neighbors that have gotten together that have been helping neighbors but now want to become formal organizations so they can continue in a nonprofit way. So, anything to add?
No, we've got to help these people. I have no objection.
No, I know, being part of a nonprofit with Kyle Lions and stuff, it really has put a strain on being able to help people, for whatever they need. Like Lions usually helps with people needing glasses and things like that, and it cuts down on the income that, we've been able to do with COVID and stuff. So where it's going from 5 to 3 years, I don't really see where it's that big a change, and makes it easier for people to do something.
Okay. So everybody comfortable with just approving this? Yeah. With that, I'd accept a motion to approve Resolution 20-to be determined, urging support for Amendment C regarding conduct of charitable gaming.
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution of approving or supporting Amendment C.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution supporting Amendment C. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, the next is a resolution opposing a state ballot proposition 118 concerning paid family and medical leave, a paid medical leave insurance program. Just generally, this is would be a brand new state level program that requires most businesses and all employees, no matter what the size of their business, to contribute a portion of their salary to fund a family leave and benefit program. That's I just kind of run through some of the whereases here. That the National Federation of Independent Businesses shows that 75% or 73% of small businesses already offer paid time off, and for any reason the employee chooses. The Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, provides covered employees with up to 12 weeks of unpaid job-protected leave each year, while also requiring that health benefits be maintained. During the time of COVID, the Congress passed the Emergency Sick Leave Act, which offered 2 weeks of employees' regular pay. 118 essentially is a $1.2 billion tax increase that's levied on employers and employees to create a large state-run medical leave insurance program. It would be managed by those that are unelected, and probably most disturbingly, it really doesn't limit the fees that can be imposed if the program is more expensive than anticipated. For businesses with 10 or more employees, they split the cost of the tax 50-50. For those that are employees of smaller businesses, the employee still pays into this. And at this point, it's going to create costs probably at a time when businesses are hurting most. I think the personal editorial, I think the thought behind it is positive. People want to take care of people, but on whole, businesses are already taking care of their folks. And this takes money out of the pockets of businesses and individuals that they are then not able to spend on their own priorities. So, any comments?
Yeah, from my perspective, there's a couple of things here. One is we can't afford it. And businesses can't afford it, county government can't afford it, and the idea that a state-run program like this would be beneficial, I'm suspicious.
You see all the ads on TV, but none of the ads talk about employees having to contribute to this. They're always talking about the businesses contributing, but they don't mention what the employee's going to have to contribute also. So my problem is, like Chris, there is no ceiling on this, and to guarantee that people know what would be taking out of their paycheck as they go along. And at this point, they may have an amount, but there's nothing to guarantee it's not going to go up.
Yeah, I would say it's not a new idea. It was established in California, and it did turn out to be more expensive than initially planned, and rates have risen. So like I said, to me, it's the wrong time to consider this. This was pushed through a put onto the ballot by a citizen initiative petitioning, but so potentially there hasn't even been substantial legislative discussion on how or could this be afforded within the state. So, if you guys are comfortable taking a position.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass resolution 20- to be determined urging opposition to state ballot proposition number 118 concerning a paid family and medical leave insurance program.
Now, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to take a position in opposition to state ballot proposition 118. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The third one before us is a resolution as drafted to oppose Amendment B. It's a constitutional amendment that would remove protections for residential property owners, more commonly called the Gallagher Amendment. Just running through the facts provided. Gallagher was adopted in 1982. At that point, property taxes or property values were rising rapidly, as they have been most recently here in Colorado. And over that time, the impact of the Gallagher Amendment has saved homeowners more than $35 billion in property tax payments by requiring reductions in the residential assessment rates as home prices have risen. The elimination of the Gallagher Amendment and locking at the current residential assessment rate, I believe it's 7.15 right now, would burden homeowners with the entire tax impact of future home value increases. We've been through a reassessment this year, I'll just stick with the facts provided here. The Taxpayer Bill of Rights provides a mechanism that allows people to vote for additional revenues if they feel it's needed by local governments, if residential assessment rates are further reduced by the mechanisms of the Gallagher Amendment. It's the responsibility of the government to spend taxpayer dollars it receives wisely, and Tabor is intended to ensure government does not grow faster than inflation and the population served. Our citizens have shown that they will support a demonstrated need for additional funding of local government services for well-defined purposes, as evidenced by the multiple approvals over the years for increased funding to various county school districts, fire districts, and the sales tax passed for the county government itself. The board trusts the citizens of Elbert County to provide the level of funding required to provide them their desired level of government services. The state legislatures placed this measure on the ballot and does so without acknowledging that the Gallagher Amendment is functioning as intended. You may be familiar, there was a court case where legislative staff, when they were preparing the Blue Book language, initially prepared language that stated flatly at the beginning that Gallagher was functioning as intended. The legislature struck that language. And the language that is provided in the measure is somewhat misleading. It promises no increase to the tax rate, but doesn't inform voters that if Amendment B is approved, an anticipated tax rate reduction will be blocked, and actual tax and collections would increase over what Gallagher would have supported. the resolved portion reads that we would be in opposition as its passage eliminates automatic residential property tax reductions that shield homeowners from the full extent of property tax increases based on rising market values. Also notes that we have faith and confidence that the citizens of Elbert County will provide a level of adequate funding to provide the government services they desire. And finally, register our disdain for the state legislators that attempted to hide the true tax impacts of Amendment B on our homeowners. Comments? Sure.
Yeah, this is the most difficult one for me to come to a conclusion. I can argue the case for it and against it equally as adamant in the way I like to analyze things. The thing that concerns me about this is that, first of all, I want to keep Tabor at all costs. But more importantly, as the governor and the current government at the state level has basically killed the oil and gas industry and reduced its values significantly. The analytical part of this, where the 45-55% ratios that are in the Gallagher amendment is going to lead to probably, and notice I use the word probably because the numbers are kind of moving around. It's going to reduce the income to, if we keep Gallagher, it's going to reduce the income to county government, fire districts, the school districts, and county government. Now that I've said all of that, what has been mentioned here in this thing is we can assume the practical logic of our citizens that they will vote to bridge that gap. At this point in my mind, I'm still vacillating between yes and no. If this comes to a vote, I am going to abstain.
Yeah, I'm sort of like Grant. You know, if we kept the rate where it is, you know, especially in this county with increased values, we know the tax money is going to go up for our homeowners and things like that. Looking at it from the county perspective, you know, on what it's going to do to income. But the other big thing that bothers me is there's nothing that says what they're going to do with the business or the non-residential rate. You know, if they change that from 29% and they lower that rate for some reason, that special interests get in there and reduce the rate. You know, we don't have that much in this county, but it's still going to make an effect on the taxes. It could offset any increases that the residential property increases would have. You know, personally, as for myself, I don't want to see my property taxes go up, but you know, looking at it from the county side, you know, we can't afford to be losing revenue when we've been talking about we need to increase our revenue streams. Otherwise, this county is going to stagnate where we are, and we're not going to be able to move ahead without additional businesses. But that's my biggest concern, is what they're going to do with the rate on the businesses, because I'm not sure that they'll keep that at 29% or try reducing that down, and then it's going to offset the purpose. So I don't know. I'm sort of like Grant. I look at it both ways. You know, what it's going to do to the county revenues, but as a taxpayer, I don't want to be seeing my taxes go up, you know, significantly, especially if they reduce what the businesses and stuff pay. And I am a small businessman, so I know, you know, what that 29% does on, you know, the building I own and things like that. So I know the effects of that also.
Yeah, like I said, probably the most disturbing piece of this is really to me is you're looking at pulling a piece out of the Constitution with nothing to replace it. there's a statement that there's been statements made, but that doesn't mean it would remain true that the residential rate would be locked where it is currently. If that's the case, then homeowners will absorb the full impact of their property value increases, which is what drove Gallagher to be put in place initially. It has caused issues over the years as it's a statewide percentage of residential versus non-residential property that's looked at. So the farther you get from the metro areas, when you get to the corners of the state where there's little or no true commercial or comparatively very little retail commercial space, there's lots of farmland that's assessed on its production value, but it's really hampered collections, as Grant said, for special districts, fire districts, etc. Now, many fire districts a couple of years ago passed essentially what they were calling de-Gallagherization, that would allow their mill levy to float up if their revenues were to drop. In just about every case, I think all but 2 out of more than 50 districts, the questions that were placed were approved by the people. So there is an Tabor does work both ways. It prevents the legislature and local governments like ours from raising taxes without a vote of the people, but it also allows the people to provide more revenue if a good case is made by the government. And I'm not, this is not, just my personal opinion. I do fully trust the people to choose wisely if they believe that a higher level of service is necessary, that more revenue is needed to provide that they would vote for it. They've proven so in the past, and I do think the onus is on governments to lay out honestly and fully what the expenses ought to be. I mean, we should be trying to operate as efficiently as possible. And again, it kind of disturbs me in the way the language was written. It kind of hides what the initial impact would be. We don't know what adjustment will be made to the assessment rate if Gallagher stays in. I've heard the number 5.88% versus the current 7.15. If that were true, that's about an 8% reduction in the residential assessment rate. So if property values across the board were to go up 16%, at least you don't absorb the full 16%. We also have the issue that Rick brought up, that the business or the non-residential side was locked at 29%, and those that are paying that, there's a plethora of organizations and lobbying folks across the state that would probably immediately come in asking the legislature to reduce that. And you hear the advertisements already that it's unfair that businesses pay 4 times what the residential rates are. I would say probably homes have increased in value more than 4 times over since 1982. So anyway, it kind of comes down to do you want to keep an automatic level of funding rolling based on the current formulas, or do you want to gamble on not knowing what would replace it? I don't really like to gamble, not when we're talking about other people's money. And the other piece of this, I would say, is that the legislature this year, that they placed it on the ballot for one very simple reason, and that's because one of the biggest chunks of the state budget is backfilling the school funding formula for local school districts. The school funding formula tells you, based on your local conditions, how much per pupil funding is required. The mill rates for local school funding were locked I believe in the early 90s, with the state backfilling anything that's not collected locally. When that initial formula was put in place in the early 90s, about 2/3 or more of the funding for local school districts came from local taxes. A few years back when I was on the Elizabeth School Board, that had changed, at least locally. 73% of the funding for that local school district came from the state. So it's become a huge burden on the state to fund schools, and that's really, from my point of view, the only reason why they're now interested in Gallagher. Local governments have been for years, because we've been seeing the impact of it. Certainly the fire districts and other special districts other than the schools have seen either reductions or not keeping up with inflation. So they've been extremely interested in it. CCI, our lobbying organization for counties, has held countless meetings over the years and made lots of suggestions and participated in interim committees with the legislature, and none of the various things that have been looked at, whether it's regionalizing Gallagher, bringing it down to a county level, or otherwise other potential fixes, haven't been acted on, have been ignored. And now suddenly when the state is in a bind, because as Grant mentioned, they took measures to destroy one of our major industries, oil and gas, and reduce that non-residential collection piece, or they now seem to be interested in this. I know my fellow commissioners don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. I'm not going to ask for a vote on it, but I just want to make sure that all those issues were out publicly, because this is one that the people will have to decide, unless somebody does want to make a motion.
Part of what I see is getting rid of it. We really don't know what the consequences are going to be when Gallagher is repealed or whatever. I mean, I'm not sure what the legislature can then do if it is repealed and setting rates. I guess I lean more towards supporting keeping the Gallagher, because we just don't know what the consequences are, even though it'll hopefully keep the income up for the counties, but we really don't know what effect it's going to have on the taxpayers.
Do you want to make a motion? Yes. Yeah.
You might see if anybody else.
Sherry Hewlett, Elbert County Treasurer. Just a quick question. My understanding on this is that if we repeal Gallagher and the residential rate stays at 7.15, they can't change that unless it goes before the people for a vote, correct?
They can't increase it. They could.
They could lower it?
You can decrease it. Yes.
Okay. So what about, how does that, I wonder how that affects the commercial, like Rick said, or the non-residential, if you want to put it in those terms. Would that go to a vote as well, or?
Again, they can reduce it, but
Not
increase
increase
the
it.
assessment
Okay.
rate. And that, one of my larger concerns is, the business communities broadly all have lobbying organizations, and that's a cost they can go after with the legislature to ask for reductions. So it could potentially, we saw the residential assessment rate ratchet down over nearly 40 years. You
Yeah.
could see potentially the residential rate lock, and the continued argument that it's unfair that other people pay more, and see the non-residential piece continue to drop legislatively. I guess it's the unknown.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
It's not perfect by any means, and
Right.
we've seen the impacts, but I suppose we could just trust the legislature to
Right.
do the right thing.
Well, I thought it had to go to a vote irregardless, whether they wanted to raise it or lower it. So that was what I wanted clarification on. Thank you.
And actually, this does affect lots of, is there anybody else in the room that has a question or a comment on this one? Okay. I guess I'll accept a motion, and if not, we'll just move on.
I'm torn either way.
Yeah, I think the issues are clear, or maybe
Right.
they're not clear, but.
Yeah, just as a
Yeah.
comment, every one of the issues that's been brought up are real. And for our treasurer here, her questions too are real. Is either way we go here, there's a big part of that is unknown. For example, going from 7.2% down to 5.88, what happens next year? You know, the thing is that, and it's a weakness I have, is that I like to have things that are predictable. Either way we go here, the outcome is not predictable. And that frightens the devil out of me, or into me. I'm not sure which way that goes. Again, I understand the discussion. I agree with all the points, but then the problem I have is sorting out the points and figuring out what my conclusion is, and I'm still vacillating.
Yeah, and I honestly don't, I mean, if the three of us don't have a firm position one way or the other, I don't think we should
I appreciate
take one
that.
as a board. So the next item we have is, it combines two, their Proposition 116, which proposes state income tax reduction, and Proposition 117, requiring that voters approve the creation of certain fee-based enterprises in the state. And this urges support for both. Just what's presented is that we believe that citizens should have a say in matters of taxation and public spending. That we recognize that every dollar paid in income tax to the state for its priorities is $1 less that may be spent locally by the citizens that earned it. The state has rarely issued a refund of over-collected state income tax, but has instead put their efforts into finding legislative loopholes to retain the money. And the spirit and letter of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights requires refunds be made. One of the common methods to avoid TABOR revenue gaps and subsequent refund of tax rate reductions is to classify a growing portion of revenue kind of off the books as fees generated by new enterprises, which are intended to be business-like entities that self-fund but are more commonly just government programs in disguise. The establishment of such fee-supported enterprises does not require a vote of the people, as new or increased taxes do under the requirements of TABOR, and the growth of state revenue and spending attributed to enterprises has actually dwarfed the growth of the actual portion of the budget that falls under TABOR. The numbers I've heard was when TABOR was passed, approximately 25% of the revenues coming into the state were from true enterprise funds. That's now grown to well over 60% of the budget is kind of outside of TABOR. And the resolution is drafted, again, declares our support of 116 and 17. The 116 would be about a 1.7% income tax rate reduction, and 117 would require any enterprises that collect over, I believe it's 150 million in their first several years of operation to also be voted on by the people. So, any comments or
No, the only
questions?
comment I have is, how could you turn this one down?
That's kind of like, yeah, so I'd take a motion to adopt.
Do you want me-
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution 20-2 to be determined, urging support to state ballot proposition number 116 concerning a state income tax reduction, and proposition number 117 requiring voter approval for creation of certain fee-based enterprises.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution on Proposition 116 and 117, supporting both. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next one's relatively simple. It's a resolution opposing the state ballot proposition concerning 114, concerning the restoration of gray wolves. We passed a resolution earlier this year urging people not to support the petition to place this on the ballot. The facts provided in the draft resolution recognize that we're a legal and political subdivision of the state and are authorized to act in areas that concern the life, health, and safety of the citizens of Elbert County. That the Secretary of State has approved the placement of a citizen ballot initiative to restore gray wolves on the 2020 election ballot. That in March of 19, the U.S. Department of the Interior recommended removing the gray wolf from the federal endangered species list. That the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Department has publicly opposed the introduction of gray wolves in Colorado in 1982, 1989, and in 16. The Legislative Council has estimated the cost just to plan for the effort in 21 and 22, it's 2012, is over $800,000, and that beginning in fiscal years 23 to 24, implementation costs would increase as reintroduction commenced. There are identified viable wolf populations already within Colorado after reintroduction efforts have taken place in Wyoming and New Mexico. In states where wolves have been reintroduced, incidents of attacks on game, animals, livestock, and pets are regularly recorded, while attacks on humans in other areas of North America, while less common, are known to have occurred and resulted in death and serious injuries to humans. In states where wolves have been reintroduced, cases of previously unrecorded instances of disease have been found prevalent in the wolf population, and these diseases have been passed to game animals and can be transmitted to domestic livestock, pets, and humans. And organizations such as Colorado Farm Bureau, Douglas Elbert County Livestock Association, RCAF, and others are actively engaged in environmental and wild game conservation and agricultural production oppose this reintroduction. And whereas livestock production is a primary agricultural industry critical to the economy of Elbert County and the livelihood of our citizens, it resolves that we declare our opposition to State Proposition 114 as passage would increase risk of harm to citizen pets and livestock and requires unnecessary expenditures of taxpayer dollars to support introduction of a species that's already present in the state of Colorado. So.
This is an easy one for me. Wasting this money baffles me. The reason we know that there's a natural repopulation of the wolves is that most of the wolves over there in the northwestern part of Colorado already howl with a Canadian accent. They've moved south, and I should have put an A at the end of that. But coming back to the reality of it is that they're coming. I've talked to somebody that lives up there, and he said there's young pups there right now. So the whole idea that we have to spend the kind of money that the chairman just mentioned to reintroduce them is an act of silliness.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw in a little, there's the reintroduction that's proposed is on the other side of the divide, and so there's been a lot of folks that are saying it wouldn't affect us, but the moose were reintroduced to the state, I think, in the 70s, or introduced to the state, I'm not sure which, on the other side of the divide, and we've had moose here in Elbert County. So if a prey animal can make it over the divide and all the way out to Elbert County, I have no doubt that wolves can do that just as easily. So,
they're coming.
Yeah. Our highways might not be as great as they need to be, but they do provide a way to get here. So, so I would accept a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass Resolution 20-2 to be determined urging opposition to state ballot proposition number 114 concerning the restoration of gray wolves. It should be increasing their population.
Yeah. it's not really a reintroduction at this point.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to oppose ballot measure 114. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All righty. The last we have is resolution 20 to be determined urging opposition to the National Popular Vote Compact, which will appear on the 2020 general election ballot as State Proposition 113. Excuse me. And as drafted, it reads that America's founding fathers created a federal system of checks and balances to ensure that each state would have an adequate voice in the election of a president, and that no city, state, or region would consolidate too much political power, and that adoption of the National Popular Vote Compact would concentrate political power in a few large cities located in the most populous states, that Colorado's 9, probably to be 10 after the census, electoral votes are highly coveted and pursued by presidential candidates, ensuring that candidates listen to Colorado's unique interests, and that the national popular vote would require Colorado's presidential electors to cast their votes for a candidate for president who received the most votes nationally, even if that candidate did not receive the most votes in Colorado. And whereas the authority to conduct a national popular vote is not an enumerated power of the federal government, and each state in the Union has constitutional authority to enact differing processes and suffrage requirements which negate the potential validity of any national popular vote tally, and that the National Vote Compact contains no majority requirement that would allow a candidate with a plurality, however small, to become president. This draft resolution resolves and declares that we oppose 113 for the purpose of ensuring proper checks and balances against accumulation of political power and to protect Colorado's unique political voice in presidential politics. Any comments?
I think we've got somebody here that wants to speak to this.
I know we have a guest in the room today, the Mayor of Monument, who was instrumental in placing this on the ballot, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, sir.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Don Wilson. I'm the mayor of the town of Monument, and I was also the co-sponsor of the referendum against Senate Bill 42. The reason we took up a referendum against Senate Bill 42 is because of the feedback we were getting against our constituents. We had constituents talking about the same things you just mentioned that's in your resolution. This takes power and control away from Colorado on key Colorado issues. It throws our electoral votes in a bucket with the other larger states, and our say would in fact end up going, in some cases, to a candidate that wasn't even on Colorado's ballot. This referendum that we filed was the first referendum in Colorado in almost 90 years. That means this was the first time since 1932 that the citizens of Colorado challenged what the state legislature had done. So many people thought this was a horrible idea that we actually had a record-breaking petition drive, the largest petition drive Colorado's ever seen. And you covered most of the details of what your resolution's about, what we're opposing. I'd be happy to answer any questions and ask for your support in opposing the national popular vote.
Thank you. Any questions or?
I don't have any questions, just a comment. I'm absolutely, totally in agreement with you. But then some of it has to do with my background. I grew up in the British parliamentary system, and that means the large population areas always control the leader of the country. If we don't follow your recommendation here, basically Colorado citizens have been disenfranchised. They don't have any voting power. It's meaningless. So
correct.
I totally support the opposition.
And like you were saying, Colorado's voice would become silent to California, places like California that have always wanted more participation in Colorado's water policy and other policies that affect Colorado directly, they would be allowed to have a larger voice in who gets to basically the executive of those policies.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I grew up in Massachusetts, Western Mass, where Boston dominated everything that happened across the state. Now live in Colorado, where the Denver metro dominates most of us that live farther out, unless we band together or we keep our voice. So I think this is entirely the right thing to do.
Surprisingly, on your comment,
Yeah.
we now have an endorsement to oppose the national popular vote from the Boulder Daily Camera, from the Boulder Weekly,
That might change my mind. I don't know.
and the Denver Metro Chamber and the South Denver Metro Chamber.
Well, that's good to hear. So, any other comments in the room, or if not, I would accept the motion. Thank you.
Go ahead, Grant.
Go ahead, okay. I move that we adopt Resolution 20- to determine urging opposition to the National Popular Vote Compact, which will appear on the 2020 general election ballot as state proposition number 113.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution as provided. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Mr. Mayor, I would just like to thank you for your statewide leadership on this issue. It's Monument's a pretty small town when you think about it, but thank you for taking this on.
And I feel the same way, thank you.
Alrighty. Well, there were, like I said, I think we covered 8 of the statewide ballot measures. There are others that are either much more probably personal in nature or really don't have tremendous impacts on the county. There's a ballot measure to end late-term abortion. There's one that would triple the sales tax on cigarettes and add vaping products to that list. And there's one other one that one more of the 11. I don't recall offhand what that one may have been. So, it was pertaining to gaming towns, the betting stakes in the gaming towns that I think we believe is more of a local issue, so to those towns. So with that, we'll move on to our next item for discussion, and that is distribution of CARES Act money. Sam, I think we're done doing the bulk of the talking now.
Thank you, Commissioners. As I've briefed here before, we are working on a CARES Act project list. I want to kind of go through through this in a little more detail than I have in the past, because I've got updated information on where we are with several of these projects. The first one in the attachment is Admin 1. It's design those CARES controls to meet federal and state guidelines. That is, we're working with our CPA firm and our in-house finance team to make sure that we have everything in place in case we are audited on this item. That is continuing, and the estimate now on that is firmed up. Admin 3 is the a contract supplement for Phoenix Technologies to allow staff to work from home and to implement all the other CARES project technology projects that are going in. That is an estimate, but we think it's a pretty good estimate because that work is going to continue until 12/30. Admin 4 is the IT and OEM administrative support. That one is kind of paused right now as we reassess what the best need is for that activity. ER1, the economic recovery, business recovery grants, that's grant program is out there and launched, and with its sister program, the nonprofit grants, they're both out there up to $10,000. for eligible businesses and nonprofits in the county. Our first round, we got 12 applications from businesses and 6 applications for nonprofits. We're now going through those applications, make sure they've met all our checklist requirements, and then we're hoping to issue those funds fairly soon. We do expect to have a second round of applications, and notice should go out soon on the extension of that program. And then we're also going to discuss if we don't get enough applications for all the money, do we want to increase that $10,000 to $15,000 or $20,000 for those businesses that had significant losses during the time. The economic recovery staff, that one's kind of on hold. ER3, workforce development support, I'm having conversations with them about how best to get them some more support, not only from staff, but staffing perspective, but also signage and other things to let people know that we do have workforce development on the fairgrounds and the Human Services Office. Personal protective equipment, PPE 1 is the 1-year supply of PPE for county operations. PPE 2 is a 1-year supply for the detentions and deputies, and those PPE equipment has been ordered. And then PPE 4 is a place to put it, and that has been ordered also and delivered and is going under some modifications right now to make it more usable. The PYN 2, the Protect Your Neighbor 2, the Vulnerable Population Grants, that's going to be some funding for the nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities that are in the county. We're going to be reaching out to them soon to see how best to get that paperwork from them so that we can make those grants. The PYN 3 is the vulnerable populations and detentions. That's HVAC improvements in the Justice Center complex to increase ventilation and includes the ionization system as recommended by DOLA. That's firmed up at $132,000. That's project should be nearing completion. PYN 6 is the audio-visual improvements for the public meetings. That's upgrades to AV in this room and the Ag building to better facilitate electronic meetings. And that will also, although not a part of this project, but ties into another project, which is a website rebuild. So we're hoping to have better hosting, a place to host that video. The PYN 7 project, online permit application, and allows the checking of the status of the applications for building permits and other permits out of Road and Bridge. We are working on that, trying to finalize which software we want to go with on that. PYN 8, website upgrade, we just talked about that one, a rebuild of the county website. PYN 9 is the vehicle for use by Public Health Department. That has been purchased. The firm cost on that's $29,280. PYN 10, increased cleaning because of COVID. That one is, that contract is in place now, and we're doing the additional cleaning and sanitation for all county buildings, including the 18th Judicial Court piece of that. PYN 11 is new software for the assessor's office to provide online comparables and keep people from having to come into the office. That I think has a go live date either in December or January, but that has been purchased and is ready to go. PYN 12 is the GIS server upgrades. That allows server upgrades to support public access and not only public access, but some of our first responder access, fire departments and law enforcement to have access to some of that data so that they have better maps to get to where they need to go. The electronic signboards, PYN 13, we wanted to use that to provide messaging capabilities around the county for COVID-19 awareness. Initial feedback from DOLA is that it is a capital expense and not eligible. And I'll talk about some of the discussions we've been having with DOLA and some of the concerns we're hearing from other counties in just a moment. PYN 14 is county fair support. That should help pay for the virtual fair that we did this year, as well as possibly upgrading some of that for next year's fair. PYN 17, the 911 tower communication upgrade is underway. This resolves a downtime issue that we have had that was unacceptable for our first responders with line of sight microwave transmission from Douglas County. This would provide a redundancy and an upgrade to that system. We had about 5 hours of downtime, I think, last year. The specs or the guideline is no more than 5 minutes of downtime. So that's a significant change that our first responders have not been able to get to be in communication with dispatch, and I think that is certainly a COVID project. Again, another one the state is pushing back on very hard. PYN 18, Human Services Support, and that's General Assistance and Emergency Grants. That'll provide costs to keep families together, provide daycare costs if needed, as well as food, clothing, et cetera. We're looking at which cards to get them. They've got that capability in there. We just need to get that purchased. PYN 20, the HHS facility improvements, space redesign. That's probably not going to happen this year as we look at running out of time and whether or not it was a capital expenditure. Then we get down into the state of emergency ones. That's basically reimbursement for PPE. There's also that we've spent during the emergency from March 15th to present. The contingency reserve is kind of a 10% of total cares in case we have something come up. And then the coroner resources, additional storage capacity for the facility. That has been completed. The cost for that was $15,900. Just a reminder, the towns, the 3 towns were a part of this program. This is a reimbursement program, so both the county and the towns have to spend this money before they get reimbursed for it. $103,000 went to Elizabeth, Kiowa, and Simla combined, and from my discussions with them, they are ordering PPE to try to spend that money down, but they're not sure they're going to be able to spend it all either. So that's kind of an update on the project list. Again, just my thanks to my internal team that's really kind of helping me guide through these projects. DOLA has been a great resource. They're the conduit with the state finance people on what will and will not be approved. More than likely, guidance continues to change, coming down to us on a regular basis, which makes it even more interesting. The feds give us more guidance and clarification of their guidance. It's a little easier to fit within the federal guidelines than the state guidelines. The state's being a little more restrictive, in my opinion, than the federal government guidelines. So we are working through this the best that we can to try to get all this done. Again, all this project money has to be spent by 12/30. That doesn't mean that we can start a project and have it delivered after 12/30. We have to have all the software, all the websites, all the hardware, anything that we buy has to be installed, completely turnкeyed over to us. There are some things that, like the missile silo tower upgrade that I talked about, that may not be reimbursed by the state, but we decided as a county and as a team that it is still vitally important for our first responders to have 911 communications. And so we will take that out of other county funds for this year if necessary, and we will continue to push the state that this is the #1 request from all the first responders in the county. We may march on the Capitol, but or at least give them a call and let them know that this is that it's important to us and it ought to be an approved project. So there may be a couple others that get kickback from us on. We may not be able to get reimbursement for the entire cost of the public health vehicle. We're looking at ways to either claim the depreciation or on that, so it'll be from the time we bought it until the end of the year on that piece of it too. But that was another one that we decided that if our public health director is going to be going around and visiting every school, looking at a lot of the churches and doing what he needs to do, and going to Denver and talking to those folks that he needed a vehicle out of motor pool to do that, dedicated to him, and so we went ahead and purchased that also. With that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have on the CARES project list.
There's a lot of stuff going on there. And one of the things is, just as a curiosity question rather than anything else, is what do you think you've got committed now, about half or?
A little less than half. The business grant program surprised me with only 12 applications so far, and I put aside $600,000 for that. So that'll be either more available money, or we are going to continue to push out communications about both that program and the nonprofit grant program, because that was $750,000 of the $2.2 million. The money, if we do not spend it, will go back to the state to help them pay for their expenses.
Yeah. Which makes you wonder why it's become so difficult to spend. Yeah, just some feedback for citizens, and I think we always continue to emphasize that schools, fire, other special districts got their own pot of money. So
yes, they did.
Some of the stockpiling we're doing is to prepare to support those entities if we have to again in the future, as we did initially. My thought on if the nursing homes, I mean, I know they're busy. I'm not maybe not fair to call them unresponsive, but if we can't get hard numbers, or I think it would be best to make our best judgment on what they might need in an emergency and add that to our stockpile versus
correct
showing it directly to them, just
yep.
So we have that on hand. But
I will also give kudos to our emergency manager, Alex. He has done a fantastic job in finding PPE in places where other localities are not being able to find PPE. For example, he got a lead on 15 5-gallon buckets of hand sanitizer, and now is on the way. I think he's left the room, but he's on the way to deliver those to the schools and the other places. So sheriff's office, and so he's doing a good job in finding stuff.
And I guess the other, I just, hear the changing guidance at the state level on capital, it's baffling. We were successful in, reimbursement for increased remains storage capability for the coroner, obviously a capital resource. Signboards when we have 2 state highways and an interstate that run through the county that we can't contact people by reverse 911, and they're not going to read our newspapers or check our websites, but we may have immediate and important information to put out, is strange to say the least. And then the entire just thought process behind not being able to invest in things that prepare us for reoccurrence or another emergency like COVID, and after the 31st of December just makes absolutely no sense. And unless everybody believes that COVID will disappear on the 30th of December and no investment is needed beyond that.
You mean November 3rd?
No, I would only say December 30th on this one, but it just, I mean, I know CCI has been pushing back on this. Our senators have both gotten an earful. Our representatives at the state and congressional level are also scratching their heads and pushing on this. So my concern is that eventually, common sense will prevail, but it's going to prevail too late to actually spend the money, and then it'll still wind up rolling back to the state, and the residual of our 2.2 million will disappear in 5 minutes in Denver with no impact appreciably on Denver, and certainly nothing to help us. So I know it's frustrating.
It is, Commissioner, because we got thumbs up on two projects that are definitely capital, one being the coroner's storage and the other being the HVAC for the Justice Center. And then we get thumbs down on things like those message signboards, which are part of an overall communication plan, as you mentioned, to transmit information to our citizens or people driving through the county to stay safe, and what our current levels of restrictions are. And so, you know, they're okay with putting stuff out on the website, they're okay with print stuff, but they won't let us spend, you know, $5,000 or $6,000 on a message board that we could use.
Especially when they've established a system now where the levels and measures required or encouraged can change on a daily basis. So anyway.
And we did model, just for the record, we did model our project list on what we were seeing from the 5 big counties that went direct to the feds for their allocation. I am also hearing from my other county managers and county administrators that they are having that same frustration level with the state.
And I know at least El Paso, I saw an article, is kind of in the same boat. I mean, they got, even with direct funding and following only the federal guidance that hasn't changed as much, at least. I think they only had we're looking at perhaps only about 60% of their funding being able to be spent. And I think there's some movement at the federal government to at least try to allow the allocation of the dollars, if not the actual payment, to be made by the end of the year, or push those timelines. But I guess we'll see what happens in Washington. Alrighty, I guess with that, move on to our action items. We got approval of the meeting minutes from September 23rd. I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes for the September 23rd, 2020 BoCC minutes and dispense with the reading of those minutes.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to accept the minutes as presented and dispense with reading from the December 23rd meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item we have is Board of Health minutes from September 30th.
I'll make a motion, we approve the September 30th, 2020 Board of Health minutes
And dispense with the reading of
and
those.
dispense with the reading.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented for the Board of Health meeting from September 30th and dispense with the reading. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We've already taken care of item 3, the proclamation regarding 4-H. So the final item for this morning's session is the Elbert County Building Authority recommendation to refinance the lease purchase of the Justice Center. So I will turn that over to the Building Authority.
So as president of the Building Authority, I've brought key members of the Board of Directors with me to this meeting in case you gentlemen have any questions. But the purpose of this resolution that accompanies the staff report is to have you, the Board of County Commissioners, authorize the Elbert County Building Authority to refinance the Justice Center loan, taking advantage of the lower interest rates and reducing our annual payments while not extending the term of the loan at all. So it's a drop in interest rate from 2.6 and some change to 1.9 and some change. And the refinance fees are incorporated into the new loan amount. So those won't be paid separately. This will save the county about $10,000 a year on that loan. And so the Building Authority met and took all the action necessary to approve the forms of the loan and the lease agreements, and this resolution gives us the authority to execute, basically. Be happy to answer any questions.
Just as a quick comment, if I understood what you said, that's $10,000 a year for each year for 10 years.
Yes, sir.
Which over the life of the loan is saving the county $100,000.
Yes, sir.
No, I don't have anything to say. Anything we can do to reduce the costs on refinancing that, we need to do, and because we need to be looking down the road on how we're gonna, finance or go to the voters for any additional improvements and stuff that we're gonna need, whether it's jail improvements to this admin building or whatever, road and bridge. We need to be looking at whatever we can do to move forward.
If I recall, this is also, we were able to do this refunding a year earlier than initially.
Correct. There was a clause in the 2016 bonds that we could not refinance until 2021, I think. I'm looking at my financial advisor over there who's gave me the nod, yes. So since it's refinancing with the exact same bank, they went ahead and let us do it early. By going with the exact same bank, we were able to save some of the other costs with the refinance.
I think there's nothing but good in this. I don't, if rates drop much more than 1.9%, I'd be surprised. And if we waited the additional year and they did drop, the chances of recovering $100,000 in the remaining year would mean they'd have to drop even more, below 1.9. So, I guess with that, unless there's any other questions, I'd accept a motion that we approve the building authority's refinancing of the Justice Center loan.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Albert County Building Authority recommendation to refinance of the lease revenue refunding bond series 2016.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the building authority's refinancing of the Justice Center loan. I would just add that approval is articulated in a draft resolution that's before us that contains all the information we just discussed. So, with that motion in a second, take a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, that was our final action for today. The next items we have are board planning. As Sam mentioned earlier this morning, we'll have acknowledgement of receipt of the draft budget at our next meeting. Do we have other specific items that we know are coming? Or
Not
like
that
to
comes
see?
to mind, yeah.
And I do believe, we traditionally only have one meeting in November. I think that's still the same, so we'll just have to kind of track timelines if there's anything we really need to get done.
So, Commissioners, Eileen Croth, Deputy County Manager, November's a particularly weird month for BoCC meetings because our regular second second week of the month, the meeting would happen on November 11th, which is Veterans Day, which is a county holiday. So we have adjusted that schedule and we'll be having a meeting on the third Wednesday instead, which is November 18th, at which we will have the public hearing on the draft budget for 2021. We will also have an annual update from our Veteran Services Officer, Rick Morgan. And then in December, we have a meeting on the second Wednesday of the month, which is December 9th, and then we will have to decide where we stand with the budget and with some other matters to decide whether or not we need to convene a meeting the following week rather than holding it Christmas week when things get a little bit quiet around here. So.
We don't have anything else. For now, we will, I guess it's 10:56. We'll stand in recess until 1 p.m. We've got several land use items to consider, and we'll reconvene at the fairgrounds. Just as a note, the one item that's on the schedule for this afternoon, the change 5 to zoning and subdivision regulations, the staff recommendation is to continue those, so we'll get a date time, but the other items we plan to hear. So thanks for coming up this morning, and thank you to those that are still watching online.